Hi Nadire.
Hello.
Hey, thank you for
Thank
waiting.
you.
Sorry we're a little bit late.
Sorry. Oh, Ellie, you finally fixed the camera.
I'm on my phone. My camera
Ah.
still doesn't work. Hi, how are you? Are you
I'm
okay?
good. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Yeah, good, thank you. Thanks for taking the time to come on the call and speak to us. So obviously, like, we know each other, we're both on 3D.
Mhm.
And then Kathy is here as well, from another member of the Sketchbook collective.
Hiya, nice to meet you.
Hi. Are you from another course?
Yeah, I finished foundation this year.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, so we just wanted to talk to you about your entry to the digital sketchbook category and just talk about your submission. And we were just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your practice and about your particular submission to the category.
Okay. My submission was like a digital one. And I've never done a digital sketchbook before. Everything's always by hand. So yeah, when lockdown happened and I was going to have to do everything on the computer, I was a bit dreading it. But it kind of, yeah, I quite liked it in the end. It was quite like it. I don't know. You know how I like the fact that you always have things everywhere and then you can bring it together as a sketchbook. But it was actually really easy to organize it being on the computer. And although still things were like in different places, it was quite nice, like bringing it all together and you can change things as much as you want. And yeah, I feel like I had to work in kind of a different way. And almost I like doing like a lot of collage and I like scanning things in and like photocopying and stuff, and obviously couldn't really do that. But like the fact we had Adobe access from home and stuff, I was then like learning a lot of things in Illustrator and kind of like playing around with things, making them like I would be collaging but on the computer. Yeah, but yeah, my practice, I do mostly ceramics. So yeah, from home I wasn't doing any ceramics, so but yeah, I was kind of just focusing on this like digital side of it and how I could like better my skills in that and stuff.
Lovely. So the submission that you put into the digital sketchbook category, will you talk us through a little bit about that?
Yeah. So my final project has been, well, the whole year has been me kind of like focusing on, I created and like developing this process that allows the rusted surface of steel to be transferred onto clay. So by pouring wet slip onto steel with like a plaster mold built around it. And then you have to syringe out the clay and there's a lot of like drying involved. But yeah, the surface of the rust is completely transferred onto the clay. And then, so my final project was creating a series of objects that are like, they're a series of shapes that all seem to like fit together as these sections. And the idea is the fact that I collect these marks from outside anywhere I've like attached these steel sheets onto the grounds around Manchester. And then yeah, building these plaster molds on top of them and taking the surface off them. So I'm kind of like bringing like these marks that you would otherwise kind of overlook, or just the rusty surface of things that can otherwise just seem as like decay, but like bringing them, like by making these objects out of them, kind of making something that you then like put on the wall and you're then looking at directly rather than something that would go otherwise like unnoticed.
Yeah, that's really, really lovely. We were looking through your sketchbook just now, and the digital sketchbook that you submitted was really, really lovely. Everything was really minimal, and I think that reflects really well on like the work that you do as well. So yeah.
That was another thing that was quite good about using the online sketchbook. I can't because I don't have to print anything. I really could be minimal with like how much stuff I was putting on each page. Like usually I think when I'm making my sketchbook by hand, I'm quite like trying to print as much as I can on one piece of paper to save on printing.
Oh yeah.
But I was like able to like, all the pictures can kind of breathe and like have nice space on the page.
Yeah. And yeah, it's really, really visual, which is really nice. Like there's not a lot of like huge pieces of writing you've got to go through. You can flick through and you can see the images and all your sketches really, really nicely. And it was really lovely. Yeah. So the reason that we brought you onto this call to talk about your particular entry to the digital sketchbook category is because when the judges looked through the submissions, they picked you as the winner of that category. So you've won £60 in cash out vouchers from your entry. So yeah, well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. Would you like to hear what the judges said about your work?
Yeah, okay.
So they said your submission is a professionally presented digital flip-through book which meticulously follows the development of your process. The judges said that your strong narrative throughout the book communicated your thinking, your connections, and your relationship between digital and physical making.
Thank you.
So the judges were a mixture of different tutors from the art school. So it wasn't us from the collective who judged it. It was a group of like independent people who'd not been involved in the project.
Thank you.
So following on from that, would you mind talking to us about like the sketchbooks you've kept throughout your practice and throughout your degree? Because I know from being in the studio with you, they had like lots of different little books, and you take really, really beautiful pictures as well. So could you mind talking a little bit about like how you've kept sketchbooks in the past, and then how that's been different to what you've had to do for this submission to the category?
Yeah, I feel like what you were saying, I for the last project had quite a lot. Like I had one sketchbook that was mostly, that just documents all my making, so everything that can just, all the processes like step by step. And then I had loads of other little sketchbooks that were kind of just either like kind of tangents but not, like they were still related to the projects, but things that I thought on their own could be a tiny little mini project. So like I was saying with the metal that I put out in the street, I put out 13 sheets of metal and I taped them all. But when I peeled the tape away, they were so beautifully marked around the edge, like with rust. So I had a whole little sketchbook that was filled with these, because I felt like they were a shame to get rid of, and also they needed to be like their own thing within something. So yeah, I feel with doing this online sketchbook, I've kind of combined everything. I kind of combined it as like a process, but also a space that has these individual pictures. Yeah, I don't think it was bad to combine them, but I do like the way of working, I suppose, when I can have them as like mini projects. But it was quite nice if I do it digitally. It's quite nice having everything together. But I feel when I was doing it by like paper, I also quite like it separate, because I think when you're like picking them up, it's quite nice to have, it doesn't matter if you've got like a really tiny book or you've got like a really big book, but I suppose you can't really see like weight when you're doing it online. It's all just kind of, yeah, there on your screen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could still print it if you wanted like the physical thing.
Well, I am thinking of getting this one printed. It would be nice to have it as like a physical thing.
Yeah, that'd be really lovely to have it bound, like printed professionally. Like all the pictures that you've taken, like could be printed and displayed really nicely.
Yeah, it was
that
nice
sounds
the
like a
way
nice idea.
on the online show. It's nice the way you've put the book online, and you can like fold the pages.
Yeah. So another question that we'd like to ask you, we do have like COVID related questions because it's hard to really get around. As you were saying, obviously you weren't able to do any ceramics at home.
Mm-hmm.
You had to build on your Adobe skills to make your submissions. In terms of lockdown and the skills that you've gotten from that, could you talk to us a little bit about how lockdown has affected your practice?
Yeah, I don't know, I think I was still, it's been a lot based on this like digital aspect of it. I think I was doing a lot of stuff on Word before lockdown happened, and now I can do everything much better than I could do on Word. But I think in terms of practice, I don't know, I think it has taken a bit of like a bit like, since handing in the project, it has come to a bit of like not a standstill, but I suppose it's more just like looking over what I have done rather than keep making. Like I think with my practice, I'm always just like I like figure things out through making, but because I haven't been making, I suppose I've having to be more like looking back on things and like seeing what could be taken from things I've already done, rather than like keep making more stuff. Yeah, I think I had a lot of time as well to like build my website, which I definitely wouldn't. I think that would have got a bit neglected with the project. So I'm glad I had the time to do that, and it's something that I actually like. Yeah, something that I like. So that was a good aspect of it as well, because I suppose in this time everyone's just on their computers, so I suppose it's good that I've had the time to like make my like digital profile as good as it can be.
Yeah.
So what led you to enter the sketchbook collection and prize?
I don't know. I'd always seen it. I always see it at the degree show, and it's such a nice room, like filled with all the sketchbooks. And I think I liked making my sketchbook, and I think it's like a nice thing to look at. So I was like, oh, well, maybe I should enter mine. I'd made a lot of lists of things that I could maybe enter once I'd graduated with a final work, but now obviously I don't have any of that final work. So it's kind of like looking at things that I can enter with what I've got. Like there's quite a few things that you would want to enter, what I need to enter with final finished pieces, and we don't have final finished pieces. Yeah. So it's just kind of making the most of what different things my work now, as it stands, as being quite digital and quite 2D, can go forward to.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think I think like from the submission into this, like you really have made the most of the situation as best as you can, because from your perspective, like your practice did change quite drastically, and there was nothing much that you could really replicate it with, like.
It seemed a bit of a shame to try and just replicate as well, because it was all about the process.
Yeah.
And I spent so long trying to like figure the process out. It kind of, in a way, I didn't really want to try and just start a complete new process, because I was like, although maybe I could have, I don't know, it just seemed very like, it just kind of seemed to be go against everything that I'd done. So I kind of just wanted to go with what I already had and how I could like expand on it, but not in this process kind of led way, but more in just like a digital and like 2D way.
Yeah. Well, hopefully people will be able to look at your sketchbook and maybe take inspiration from it and see what a designer maker from your point of view of what they've done, and like making the most of the work that they've already got and trying to push that forward to like enter competitions like you just said.
And there's a bit in the sketchbook as well that's a lot of like these small samples of where I tried to cast from steel, and that was just, I think, after just before Unit X, or at the start of Unit X, and I was just playing around with stuff. It's an idea that I was like, oh, maybe this will work, and then did quite a few little tests from it. But I remember as we were leaving for lockdown, I was like, I need to take some stuff home with me in case something happens, but I didn't want to take like big things, so I just took all the tiny samples that I had, a few of the tiny samples I had. But I'm so glad I did, because they make up quite a lot of it, and I managed to get quite nice like photos from it. But if I didn't have that, I would have been a bit like, I don't have anything physical. So even these like small samples now have become like quite a big, I've managed to make them into something, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's really interesting to get your insight on it. Thanks very much for like taking the time to come and speak to us.
Okay, thanks for asking.
Yeah, it's okay. The stuff that we've received through this project that we're doing, the Sketchbook Prize, it's been really, really interesting. And we feel really lucky to be able to share everything that people have submitted, and hopefully people can like look through all the sketchbooks and take inspiration from them as well. So thanks very much, Nadire, for speaking to us. And congratulations as well for winning the category. Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, cool. Congratulations. Thanks for coming to speak to us.
Thank you. See you.
Okay, thanks, Nadire.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.